Unpack your knives and stay. Yes, stay. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Top Chef RHAP. I'm Haley Strong. I can't wait to talk about this episode and all the things I could not eat because it would kill me. I'm not here to talk about that by myself, though. Hello, Chef Jim Smith.
Hi, how are you doing? It's a pleasure to be back again today.
2 eps in a row. We're doing this.
Yeah. So you're a non-spicy person, huh?
I like spice when I feel like it's flavor rather than just spice. My body doesn't totally love it. I'm a very delicate being inside and out.
I'm kind of the same way. Like I can handle a pretty large amount of heat and I like it, but I definitely end up like crying and runny nose and my face gets all red. And then sometimes if it's really hot, I end up hiccuping a lot, which is
Oh
also
no.
not the most pleasant of experiences to be, crying, runny nose and hiccuping because I've just been blown out by heat.
No.
But yeah, I'm the same way, yeah.
Yeah, I like sometimes if like a Dr. Pepper is too spicy, my nose starts to run. Like that's where I'm at. And I will sweat. And I run hot anyway, so to add heat into I'm like getting warm thinking about it. My dad will actually like if he thinks about something spicy, like he starts sweating. Like he can't even look at somebody else's spicy meal without personally dying.
I have an uncle who, while visiting Thailand, I think had to go to the hospital because he ate a pepper that was so spicy. I think maybe it was giving him like some heart palpitations or something. But like they just said literally when they got back, it was the hottest thing he'd ever had, and he had to like they were really like worried about his health. It was so hot.
Oh no. I think I told this story on the podcast before. And when we went to Costa Rica, we were at this restaurant and we ordered an agua chile. Neither of us had ever had one before. And the server didn't say anything about it, but when a different server brought it to the table, he like looks at us and he goes, "Oh, do you know how hot this is?" And we were like, "No," and he just kind of giggled and walked away. And that was genuinely the hottest thing I had ever eaten in my life, and it was so tasty. But it was just like a marathon to get through. Into the episode. I didn't realize this last week. We hadn't seen the Top Chef kitchen yet. I felt bad for Day, like not seeing the Top Chef kitchen once, can't come back for a last chance kitchen appearance. Like she just didn't get to see it at all.
Yeah, it was the location of the racetrack, and then the on location of Jamie's restaurant. So yeah, there was no stew room, no kitchen, none of that.
It made me a
I
little
don't think
sad to think about.
I don't think we saw the stew room this episode either, though.
I think we saw it for like 4 seconds when, spoiler alert, Jossie was saying goodbye. But that was about it. Our Quickfire challenge this week: create a savory dish featuring a regional pantry to pair with a chosen gelato or sorbetto, sponsored by Talenti. Now, I don't think we have this in Canada. Are you a Talenti fan?
Yeah, I like Talenti. It's good sort of grocery store gelato. They have it at most of the grocery stores around here. They have good flavors too, definitely. And
What's your
some
favorite flavor?
I was gonna say I know that they do the ones that are like layered, and I know that they've been on Top Chef before. Like one may be like a um what's the Italian dessert with the lady fingers?
Tiramisu?
Yeah, they have like a tiramisu flavor that has like that. You can see the layers and you can see the lady fingers in there. They have some cool layered ones like that. But there's a real big difference in the sweetness. Like the sorbettos are definitely much less sweet and much more like fruit puree. So like the India group in this one definitely had the easiest go about it because that it's really very much like an intermezzo almost more so than a rich ice creamy gelato kind of flavor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I felt like the people who had the mango one and like the butter pecan one were like playing completely different games.
Yeah.
So we were dealing with 7 different flavors, and each flavor was dealt with by 2 chefs. We had Mei Lin in the kitchen as a guest judge, and we had her the whole episode, which I was really excited about.
Yeah, it was awesome to see Mei Lin. I'm a big fan of hers. I don't know her. I've never met her, but we have lots of mutual friends who just describe her as a super awesome person, a really amazingly talented chef. Her restaurants have been great, And I do think that I know that she may not get credit for it, but I do think that she may have been the first kind of American chef that I knew about that was making like the white sauce with the green oil, kind of broken looking. At least in the United States. Now, I mean, maybe that happened in Europe before she introduced it here, but I remember her being sort of one of the very first people for me to see who was using that kind of like a gorgeous preparation in her restaurants. I know that she has tons of cool technique, and really her spaces are really amazing, and she's done great on. I mean, she won the Tournament of Champions, and she's done great. I heard that I know that she's an awesome person. I love the side eye comment, and I know that she even.
Me too.
I think that she's one of those people who kind of like looks serious all the time, but is actually like a genuinely smart, nice, lovable, happy person who just sort of has that serious look about her regularly. But yeah,
she was one of my favorite winners, so I was very excited to see her back. Where are her restaurants based?
I'm not. I want to say I thought maybe it was California, but I may be totally wrong on that.
Yeah, I thought maybe California because she worked for one of the Voltaggios when she was on Top Chef, I believe. Maybe
that sounds right. I really don't remember. But yeah, maybe that sounds right. I don't really remember though. But
Oscar and Sherry both were dealing with the caramel cookie crunch. I felt like this was a pretty tough one. But Oscar did well with it. He was in the top with his polenta cachapa with brown sugar, butter caramel, Fresno chili, almonds, and crispy skin provolone. Can you tell me more about crispy skin provolone? Because I heard that and I went, oh.
Yeah, I tell you what I think, and what it looked like to me he was doing was that he took provolone slices and probably either buttered or oiled them and put them directly on the flat top. Now, I know that is a technique used to make grilled cheese sandwiches in a lot of like diner situations where you'll just take the American cheese and slather them in butter flavored oil and put them directly on the flat top. And then when they start to bubble, you then put the bread on top of it and kind of like pull them up and smash them together. And so I think that what he was doing was he was just taking the cheese and putting it directly on the flat top and just basically searing the cheese until it gets crispy. And provolone definitely works. I know that a high oil cheese like American cheese works really well for that too. I'm not positive. I think that's what he was doing.
I might try that in my home. Yeah. just to eat. I just want a crispy skin provolone.
Yeah.
And Sherry made a polenta crusted grouper with cabocha crema, guava gastrique, champagne grapes, and bitter chocolate. They also were like taking bites of the gelato throughout, like tasting the dishes. Like they really wanted it paired with the gelato, which, gosh, I feel like that is a sneaky, very hard challenge.
I agree completely. And actually, this whole episode is about pairing, like what are you going to pair with heat and what are you going to pair with sweet? And that's a skill that every chef has to have. You hear one of the twins, I forget which one, talk about it, say, we're used to pairing with wine or with cocktails or with other things, but you don't normally pair with sort of a heavy, sweet dessert kind of thing. But yes, I agree completely. This was a difficult challenge to pair with, and something you really have to think about. And sort of the same thing too, for me, before I saw the elimination part of the challenge, I was like, well, what would I pair with something ice cream and something sweet or something like butter pecan? And my initial thoughts were to do something spicy, because like whenever you eat spicy food, you want to cut it, like at the end, you want the glass of milk or you want something sweet. Or that's the same reason why, Cabernet Rieslings pair well with spicy curries. And so those are the kind of things, like that's a very basic pairing, but at the same time, it's one of those where you can springboard off into.
Basic for a reason.
Yeah.
Some of those ones, and like I work in wine, so I've talked to sommeliers and blah blah blah, and it's kind of those things. It's like these pairings because they work and they work for a reason, and we stick with them for a reason.
Yeah, and for me, like as a chef, a really good chef friend of mine wrote this book. It's called The Flavor Matrix, and there are several books that use the same kind of a scientific technique between like what are the compounds and foods that pair well together. And oftentimes for me, I like to use that as a starting point as to whenever I'm thinking about new dishes or what I'm going to create, is sort of instead of like looking at other restaurants to see what they're doing that's on the cutting edge or what's an interesting pairing, I like to oftentimes start with the science of what pairs well together and then use that as a springboard to make my own dish. That way I'm not being influenced by outside factors or, chefs inadvertently steal things, they learn things. This is a an industry that's based on mentorship. So the things that my mentors taught me, they appear in my food, whether I mean to do it or not, they inadvertently appear. So, that kind of pairing is a really cool way to start. And it's difficult, but it's something that every chef really needs to be able to do and needs to think about.
For sure. Our couple, Jennifer and Justin, both have the Mediterranean mint. They didn't realize it. And I love them being so on the same wavelength. And their dishes were pretty similar. Kristen even was like, "Did you guys talk about this?" And they're like, "Nope." But I guess that's because they work in the same restaurant, right? So I guess if you're working with the same person every day, you kind of, you have the same direction, I guess, because you're agreeing enough to have a restaurant together. Jennifer,
live together, work
yeah.
together, eat all your meals together. It wasn't a surprise to me that they were going to have similar dishes.
I like that they're actively trying to not be paired together all the time. Like they've tried to be on opposite teams all the time, and it's just funny that it worked out that they were head to head here. Jennifer made a marinated fennel salad with oranges, cured black olives, figs, feta cheese, chocolate with lemon puree, and Justin made oven roasted fennel with vinaigrette, feta, roasted pine nuts, fig, and olives. So 2 very similar dishes. I like how Mediterranean they went. I'm out at olives, but that's my cross to bear.
Yeah, I mean the rest, especially pairing with the mint chocolate chip, the olives bit of it seemed the biggest stretch. The rest of the ingredients on the table seemed like it would work really well with the Mediterranean mint. But at the same, like a fig, that's a very easy, bridge to a fennel even. That's a very easy bridge to go cross. But that when I saw the green olives on that stand next to the ice cream, I was like, oh, I'm not so sure about that one.
Take that, Kurt. 2 fennel dishes, and you're not even here to talk about it. The next step we had Pacific Coast pistachio. I think this would have been, without thinking about it, where I would have been drawn to, because I feel like it's the saltiest, the most savory. I do think the mango one is probably the easiest, but Lawrence had an incredible episode this week. Him and Anthony had the Pacific Coast pistachio. Lawrence made a lamb barrette with apricot jam, pickled tomatillos, and pistachios. Anthony made crispy artichoke with pipian sauce, candied apricot, and pistachio. Both these sound delicious. Lawrence won. He's our new bread maker this year.
Yeah. 15 grand in the bank already.
Yeah, attaboy. Who needs the grand prize?
I thought it was super cute the way he said that his wife is from Madagascar, and so he I thought it was a really great moment for him. Like he gets to shout out his wife in the middle of the episode, and then make a joke about not choosing Madagascar.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Well, I don't have to say sorry anymore." Yeah. Brittany and Rhoda had the coffee chocolate chip. Brittany made a coffee spice lamb tartare with crispy plantains, and aioli and chili pepper and plantains. And Rhoda made coffee and chili rub pork loin with pan jus, tostones, and dragon fruit salsa. I love the look of hers. I think that is something I would order in a restaurant. I don't do tartare. I just don't do it.
Really?
No, I'm a big texture person, and I just can't imagine a world in which tartare wouldn't set that off for me. I can do a ceviche, I think, because it's just like I can do a ceviche. That one I can deal with. Tartare, I can't do.
It's not much different than a ceviche, especially if you're using a vessel like some sort of a crispy thing to put it on, whether a chip or toast or whatever. But it's not that far. It's not that different from ceviche. I will say that sort of the knife work on the tartare didn't look to be the best. The judges,
no, it looked chunky. And just like, and I feel like you hear beef tartare, I feel like you don't hear a lot of lamb, and I know it's probably, again, not that different, but when you have like bad knife cuts on a tartare you're not really expecting, it's just, I was a little off on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason she landed in the bottom. I mean, also, this is one of the dishes too that they just said was under seasoned too, right? Am I remembering that wrong?
No, that's correct.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but the rest of the ingredients do make sense together. I mean, lamb, chocolate, the coffee flavors in there, it makes sense together.
With the Alfonso mango sorbetto, we have Jossie and Nana. Jossie made a Malai paneer tikka with cucumber salad and spice mix, and Nana made curried cauliflower steak with chunky tomato salsa and spinach. I think if I had to like pick a group, I would want both these dishes. Both of them sounded incredible.
Yeah, they did both. They looked and sounded great. I really like the way that he presented the paneer. It was kind of like sort of those big like logs on the like long cubes on the plate. It looked really good, and definitely a way I've never had paneer before. But it looked great.
Yeah, and like I love when the chef testants do really well with a vegetarian dish. I feel like it just really I like when they don't rest on meat, and that pun is absolutely intended. Seeger and Jonathan had a Madagascar vanilla bean. Um, what is this called? Gelato. Seeger made strawberry snapper with cracked coconut and uni. Jonathan made charred eggplant with tamarind, miso, and vanilla sauce with lychee and coconut. This I feel like is actually harder than they intended. Jonathan was smart. Jonathan has watched the show before, and he said, "I'm picking like a pretty basic flavor because I don't know what this challenge is going to be." So I thought that was very smart from a game perspective. But it didn't totally work out in his favor. They liked it, but it was just in the middle. Seeger was in the bottom with his dish, and oh my god, when it was placed, it was I couldn't believe the color of it.
Yeah, that was to me the worst part of it. I mean, like there sometimes some kind of pinky things can look good, but I mean, when he was just listing the ingredients between the uni in the sauce, putting the ice cream in the sauce, having the strawberries in there is what gave it that weird kind of pinkish brown color. It was too much. I mean, muddy is exactly the right sort of
Yeah.
description, and given all the ingredients that are in there, it was like a lot of those ingredients individually would definitely work well together. Like the fish with strawberries works really well. Fish with strawberries and uni could work very well. But all of that, like in the sauce, pureed together. It also looks sort of like there was so much sauce and a little bit of fish. I think the proportions were kind of weird on that dish. But I think we didn't talk about Seeger any last week, really. And he said that he's been trying to get on the show for like 10 or 11 seasons. And, it's one of those guys. I'm glad he made it. He's from Chicago. But he does well, obviously later in the episode, but very quiet first episode, not so good showing in this right out of in the quick fire here.
I was very worried about him because we had seen so little of him last episode. And then it seemed like we were getting quite a lot of story for him. I didn't think this episode was going to work in his favor. But
Last week I was trying to remember an ingredient that he used that I wasn't sure about. It was onion aminos is the thing that he used.
Yeah.
And that's the thing onion aminos. And I did look it up. I guess Bragg sells some sort of liquid onion amino, but it's also a weird ingredient that you find in health stores. And so I'm not really sure if it's a powder or liquid, but it was driving me nuts last week and it hit me there.
I do a lot of coconut aminos. I'm not a big soy sauce person. It's too like I don't love like super rich or like umami foods because I get like a headache like right here. My husband loves anything like that though. But he realized the soy sauce of just like at the level he was eating it was so much sodium that he switched to the coconut aminos because it was a little bit less.
Yeah.
With the southern butter, wow, these titles are a mouthful of just the gelato. Never mind the dishes.
Yeah.
Southern butter pecan. We have Brandon Duen. Brandon made a pork loin medallion with peach mostarda and crispy mustard leaf, and Duen made a pecan crusted pork tenderloin with braised mustard greens, peach and grape reduction. She was in the bottom with that. We had about 1 minute left of cook time, and she cuts open the meat, and it is just not close to cook. So she just books it to the grill and throws it on there.
Yeah, I thought she did a good job of getting it done, but it probably came at the expense of the rest of the dish. It seemed like they were fine with the cook on the pork, but it was really more the other stuff that they had issues with. But sort of the same way, this is all stuff that should work well together. But it's weird about pairing it with the butter pecan is the one thing that is definitely interesting. I'm not really sure. It should all work together. It was just a shame to end up on the bottom. Thing about this challenge that I didn't really think was necessary was that they were trying to force these regions. I didn't really understand, like, is Talenti motivated by regions when they're coming up with flavors of gelato, or were they just trying to force them to use ingredients from a specific area? I didn't really understand why there was like the California or the the Venezuela of it all. Like, why?
Yeah, I guess I kind of just was like, oh yeah, some of these like have geography names, so they're just going for it. But so where did we say that the coffee chocolate chip one was? That was Venezuela inspired,
The
or is that the
caramel.
caramel cookie crunch?
I think it was Venezuela. I wrote Vin on the side of my page. I think that's Venezuela because there's Venezuela, Argentina, the Mediterranean.
Right.
I mean, I may be wrong about that though.
Yeah, I
But
thought it was interesting too. Although I feel like I did recently learn that California is like one of the biggest producers of pistachios in the world. So I guess there you go.
yeah, that's true. But I mean, there's plenty of. I mean, pistachio gelato is probably one of the most famous Italian gelato flavors that there is.
It's my favorite. I love this is my combo. I do pistachio and lemon.
Oh, that sounds great.
Lemon's like my favorite. I love how tart it is. It's lovely. Or if I want chocolate, I guess I do like chocolate pistachio. I also really like. Pistachio is always there.
Yeah, there's. I mean, chocolate pistachio is such a Dubai moment kind of now.
I guess so. Yeah, I forgot about that. Actually, like I don't think I've actively tried anything Dubai chocolate.
You know, our local Costco is loaded with like 10 different Dubai chocolate pistachio things, whether it's like candy bar or cookies or yeah, it's definitely a thing. And actually, we're doing pistachio pot de creme at the restaurant right now that we top with chocolate mousse. Not necessarily trying to be Dubai inspired, but it's usually the way that we do it seasonally.
Oh, that sounds incredible. Our elimination challenge. Okay, so we're going on a field trip. We're going to, and I'm not going to say it on the podcast. I'm just not. I am a prude, and I'm not going to say the name of this firm on the podcast. I didn't know that Carolina Reaper peppers were pretty young.
They are.
I just feel like it's been in the ether for ages, and it's crazy that this guy invented them, and now the whole world talks about it.
Yeah, I mean, they look so gnarly and so scary, and they are a very hard ingredient to work with. But I do think it was awesome to find out that his inspiration is just sort of like an anti-cancer, and sort of like what kind of communities have low cancer, and what they have in common is the fact that they eat spicy foods or a lot of peppers. I thought that was that's really a cool place for him to start. Is that like, oh, why are you a pepper farmer? Why are you trying to increase the heat? And it's just really because he was inspired by a weird combo of low cancer and different food cultures.
Yeah, this was a cool guy he was very interesting. He seemed very excited to be on the show and to be eating the food. I think they really handled his product well, and I think he was very proud of it. What's the really spicy one he invented? Like the X one, the Pepper X? Is that what it was called?
Pepper X, yeah.
I think if I like stood in the same room as that, it would make me cry.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember which chef said it, but they said you could sort of smell the pepper in the air. And I know that we make several hot sauces at the restaurant from time to time. And when you're working with them, even if you're just like chopping the peppers, whether it's Thai chilies or something else, you can feel it in the air. And I'm sure just being around all those peppers, especially in greenhouses, a lot of that is just locked in.
I would be constantly afraid of like not washing my hands well enough and like rubbing my eye.
Yeah. There's other things too you want to be very careful with as well. But yes, the eyes, the face, you're like wiping your nose or your mouth or any of that is just sort of like I'm serious about like gloves always whenever handling any sort of spicy pepper.
That's smart. I think I like cut. What was I doing? Oh, I made like a jalapeno jam in the fall, and like I was just cutting up the jalapenos, and they were like fresh market jalapenos, so they're extra spicy ones. And my hand was like burning for days. I was like, "Ooh, that was a mistake. I will not do that again."
I thought it was so awesome that Mei Lin gets to like lead the field trip here too.
Yeah. I know. I was also just like, does Kristen have something on her schedule for that day? Does she have to go to the Emmys that day or
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, it was great to have her though. Like I bet it was good for the chefs. I bet the chefs got to ask her a lot of questions about the competition and everything. So
Yeah,
that's cool.
I love how the Kristen seasons have been very much more like um I don't want to say like a family, but just like less us versus them, I guess, of judges versus contestants. Like it does very much feel I don't know, like a learning opportunity as well as like a contest. I just like I like the vibe she brings to things.
Yeah, I do too. And I know that we sort of mentioned it last season. I guess this is her third season now. I really do feel like she's definitely in the zone. Like she's feeling it. She's like become sort of what it needs to be a presenter and a host on this show. She's done a great job at it. And even like her not being on the field trip was noticeable, but at the same time, at least there was the guest judge along there with her at the same time.
So in 2 teams of 7, we are creating a 7-course meal that gets progressively hotter. This scared the hell out of me. I was just like, I was worried that they were just going to go like, okay, we're just going for spice. We're not necessarily going for flavor. Like you want spice. And I also just feel like it's so difficult to like measure out that spiciness and have it slightly increase, because I feel like at a certain point of tasting, like your palate's blown. Like you don't know what's spicier or not.
Yeah. Well, it forces them all to work together too. That's the other thing. It's sort of like, but you don't really know either. Sort of like if one team started with 0 spice on their first dish, and then the next team has a decent level, you're comparing. Like it had to be very hard to figure out how they were ramping up. But I guess that the physical reaction in response to them would probably be pretty obvious at some point. Are you surprised that no one did the spiciest as a dessert?
I'm very surprised. I thought that would have been really cool. There's tons of like desserts that use peppers, and like chocolate and chili goes really well together. I wonder if it just like wasn't, they didn't think they could go super spicy with a dessert. I would have almost like loved to see them start with a dessert, I guess. Um, I know that's just like not a natural progression, but I think if you're creating like a progressively hotter meal, I think it would be kind of cool to flip that on its head and say like, okay, we're starting with dessert, and it could be like an ice cream and have like a chili ice cream. When I went to like the Tabasco factory in Louisiana and had like a Tabasco ice cream.
Did you go to the island?
Yes, yes.
Oh yeah, I've always wanted to. I've never been.
Oh my god, it's so cool. And like the Tabasco chipotle hot sauce is my favorite hot sauce. Again, so it's not like super spicy. It's just like super flavorful. But again, yeah, like going there, like my eyes were burning. I had like the Coke with like a little Tabasco in it, and that was great. That was when my stomach didn't hate me quite as much, I guess. But yeah, like I think it like starting with a dessert or something weird would have been cool. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, starting with the dessert would definitely be interesting, and or you could I mean, I guess there was granita on the oyster, but at the same time, with this many courses, they could have had they could have had a sorbet course somewhere, before the spiciest entree even, or some kind of a palate cleanser. I guess they got the rice too in the middle of it, which was a good gift. I mean,
It was a gift.
It was really smart of him to just sort of like, here's a little side of rice to go with the dish. But yeah, they could have. There definitely could have been either a spicy palate cleanser, or a dessert, or something cool at the beginning. That's a good idea. Like I think it's a good idea.
Thanks. I love this challenge. I think it's so cool. I think it's so creative. I wish there was more connection through the meals. Like I felt like they really just focused on the heat progression rather than necessarily like a menu being put in front of you and you go, okay, like this all makes sense together, but that wasn't really the challenge, so I guess it doesn't matter. From the green team, actually I also thought 90 minutes was too little for this challenge, but I think with a progressive menu where you're having to stop and taste other people's and making sure it's like really cohesive, I don't think that's nearly enough time.
Yeah, a little bit of extra time too could have solved some of their problems. Like if they needed to reorganize the menu on the fly, that would have given them a little bit of time to make some better choices there, to
And
switch things up if they thought necessary.
and is it like 90 minutes from start to like, does everybody get 90 minutes, or is it like staggered, or like the first person gets 90 minutes and then everyone else gets whatever time after? Like, I'm not sure what.
Maybe it was staggered because they each had a timer, right? Like there were timer for every course. I bet it was staggered then.
Yeah,
but
I guess we just didn't see those early courses like go in by themselves. And like, again, like, is somebody there to be like, hey, this is what we're doing? I don't know.
It could have just been too like a 5 or 10 minute stagger.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't want to be there all night. But if it was just a short time and they're staggered, that would still be hard to switch things up.
Seeger for the green team and Brandon for the red team are first up. We see some quote unquote drama with Brandon because his he had a couple elements that were spicier than they expected. So then that kind of had to shift everybody else to be a little spicier. Seeger made a Kumamoto oyster with cucumber, green jalapeno, mignonette, granita, and Reaper salsa. And Brandon made a tuna tartare with tomato, jalapeno jelly, avocado mousse, and puff wild rice. I was really impressed visually with these dishes. I thought that oyster was really stunning. I love the presentation of that.
Yeah, I did too. I do have one kind of bone to pick with this oyster is that North Carolina has amazing oyster farms. And the Kumamoto is one of the most famous oysters in America, but it's a Washington oyster. And we serve Washington oysters at the restaurant, and we get them within a day or two of harvest. It's not really kind of like they lose, like you're losing a bunch of time as they travel across the country. But at the same time, there are some awesome oysters from North Carolina and some really special ones too. There's one, for instance, there's one called Divine Pines, which is from an area that has a really large amount of the specific algae in the water, which basically turns the oyster gills green. And there's another one called Dukes of Topsail Sound, which is another one that I just love. We serve it regularly. So they're really amazing North Carolina oysters. Maybe my bone to pick is with the Whole Foods. Like you can't get any sort of local oysters there. So you're importing the Washington ones. So,
and especially I think maybe it's something that they consider is having like a local pantry. Here, like, here's a table. It's not going to be crazy, but like some very specific local ingredients to be using. I think that would be interesting. I think we saw that a lot in Toronto too, or in Canada too, where you're just like, oh, I wish they would like feature this. It's like, oh, that's like what they're getting. Like, I wish we could do this. I still have a bone to pick with them constantly having like Josh wine. I know it was a sponsor and I get it, but just like, it feels like an insult to me personally.
Yeah, I'm with you. We haven't seen a wine sponsor this season yet. It may be Josh yet again.
I have seen Josh wine and I scoffed.
Yeah.
I'm not judging those who drink Josh wine. I need people to know that I'm very open to like, if you like it, enjoy it, have a nice time. It's more of an insult to the Canadian wine industry, which I think is pretty great. But I'm biased.
Yeah. Or like when, like was it Villa Antinori that used to be one of the sponsors? Like it was really a big Italian house was a sponsor for a long time. And they were just they have amazing wines, but for the show they kept giving them sort of the bottom of the barrel, almost entry level wine, like just on a regular basis. I'm with you. Like I bet they could find somebody better than Josh. Oh, I looked at the appliances too. It's no longer GE, right?
It was Bosch. Was it Bosch?
It was Bosch, right?
Yeah.
Was that new this season, or did they?
I think so. I think you're like we've changed like the whole sponsor suite basically.
Yeah, they've changed chef coat companies too. Like it's Tillet is the brand that they use now, which is a New York-based company. I know that they're like all the young hipster chefs wear them, but I really don't want a V-neck in my chef's coat. Like I want it to be like as tight as possible up around here, and they're kind of hipstery New York brand, which is cool. They make a lot of cool stuff, but at the same time, I kind of like. I would be like constantly like messing with my collar on because it's like, a V-cut chef coat is not really like, why do you want to, why?
That's fair. I would hate it touching my neck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they still doing like Headley and Bennett aprons? Because
Yes,
I noticed
they
that.
are. They're wearing the Headley and Bennett aprons. I'm a real. I love Headley and Bennett aprons. I like them a lot. They're the only ones I wear, but I pretty much have to have the crossback apron.
Oh,
Like
okay, cool.
I can't stand the constant pulling
Yeah,
down on the back of my neck, but the crossback solves all of that. And Headley and Bennett has awesome crossback aprons.
I want one so bad, but and Ethan's tried to get one for me a couple times, but it's just like the they're pricey. They're worth it because it's all made like in their like not plant, but like plant in California, and it's all good materials and blah blah blah. But just like the price of it plus the exchange and ship, I don't even know if they ship to Canada. I think that might be part of it too, or maybe they do, and whatever. But it was just like a combo of like, oh, this is too much, and it's like that's so fair, and it's not like I wear an apron on a daily basis or anything. So
I will say they last a long time. I have Headley and Bennett aprons that I've had for like 4 or 5 years. Like, and that's like hard kitchen work and throwing them in
mhm.
suitcases and traveling across the country. And like they're great. They're a great quality product.
Headley and Bennett, if you want to sponsor this podcast as well, we are open. We can be easily bought. They back to the dishes. The judges love these dishes. They were really excited just by these. Seegers was a bit of a shock because it started pretty spicy, and so they were worried about the full progression of the meal. But I think the green team actually ended up doing like a pretty bang up job at that progression. Brandon's just started off a lot lighter, and I think that was a smart. I do think it was a smart move. I think both these dishes were gorgeous.
Yeah, his jalapeno jelly looked really good. The twins again, they're breaking out really good technique. They're using a lot of modern techniques. They're being smart, both of them very smart about the execution of these dishes, and they're just cool and interesting and creative. Like they're missing, you know, some of the dishes that are a little bit less creative this episode. Like they just really. The twins are really like Brandon. Like this dish was excellent, thought out from beginning to end, very well executed.
They feel like old school contestants to me, like seasons 7, 8, 9, kind of like that, like macho in the kitchen kind of guy. Being, but like they do have more charm. They're warming on me. I think I just need some time. I just need some time with them.
Yeah, I think it was good. I thought it was hilarious too when the one brother called out the other one during the quickfire challenge, like the points deducted for whatever, and you're like, that's something that no one who was not like related or really good friends could like shout out, a point deduction when,
Yeah.
and get laughs.
I like that they keep ending up on different teams too. Although I'm excited to see them go to head to head at a certain point. I'm sure they will. Oh my god, can you imagine both of them in Last Chance Kitchen going up against each other? I can, you know what? I'm putting my money on that. We're going to see that at some point this season.
Yeah.
For course 2, we have Brittany for the green team and Sherry for the red team. Brittany made charred corn and grilled shrimp salad with chili lime vinaigrette and pickled cayenne peppers. And Sherry made a chilled seafood chowder with lemongrass, Fresno chilies, and Fresno lime granita. I wasn't sure about Sherry's at first, and then I saw it, and I was just like blown away. And the fact that she said it was chilled, I was like, "Ooh, I love a cold food."
Yeah, me too. Cold soups are a good way to go. The charred corn and grilled shrimp, like all the judges said it was executed well, but I think this is really sort of like where some a little bit more imagination, trying some.
Like, I could make this. Like that's my thing sometimes with the show is like, oh, I could make that. Which like not putting down Brittany's skills, I'm sure it was better version of this that she made, but like I have made that. I could make that. It's not like blowing me away quite like chilled seafood chowder with lemongrass, Fresno chilies, and Fresno lime granita.
Yeah. The plate looked like corn salsa with like some shrimp on it.
It was just a side dish.
Yeah, she really needed. She is the one who I'm worried about the most. Like she really needs to find something cool and interesting, and really needs to like push the boundaries of what she's doing to sort of to make sure that she's staying in this competition longer.
Yeah, I totally agree. For course 3, we had Jennifer with pepper crab with grits, seafood gravy, and Dwayne with the pork lob salad with jalapenos and rice crackers. I thought Joanne's looked incredible and beautiful. I think if both of those were put in front of me, that is the one I would choose. But the judges were raving about Jennifer's dish. I bet it was incredible. I would just say it just wasn't like the most beautiful dish I've ever seen, which is like so fair, Bessie. It doesn't always have to be, but
Yeah, I agree. I thought the plate of, I mean, it's hard to plate. Like you're plating soup around grits, which is
sure.
two, and then you have a little bit
Yeah.
of something on top of it. I mean, maybe that dish could have looked better if it was like if the she crab soup part of it was poured table side. That might have been a way to like
Mhm.
make it look a little bit better, or at least a way to make it more interesting as it approaches the table. But like they all love the she crab soup and the fact that it was spicy. You could really it and the fact that there was cream and the grits to cut through that heat, which made it really a balanced dish. I thought it was an excellent dish. But really, this is another one of those rounds where I was like, both of these dishes sound really incredible, and Dwynn's looked just gorgeous. And I'm a larb fan in general, and a larb is one dish too where I had a friend who was the Laotian, and he had a Laotian restaurant in Montgomery, the capital. And so my wife and I would go eat there from time to time. And I know one time I ordered the larb spicy, and it was so hot I couldn't eat it. It was crazy spicy. I was just sat there in the restaurant trying to get some of it down
Like
and trying to not
crying.
because the chef is a friend of mine. The chef
They're
also
like, is it good? And you're like,
yeah. Oh, I definitely need a to-go box for this. We're taking it home and thinning it out later.
oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
But that's another really smart idea. Like the larb is a good way to go on this one.
I thought like most of the chef Destins here approached it with such like delicacy and like creativity, and like this is what I'm come to the show for. Like I really loved this challenge for that reason, even though it would I don't think I could eat for weeks after this. Like truly, I think this would send me into the ground. Um Lawrence had what I think, or no, we're not quite there yet. Jonathan had the pan-seared snapper with caracara orange and kumquat slaw, and Lawrence had the Carolina style Yujiang eggplant 3 ways with rice. I like audibly gasped at Lawrence's dish.
Yeah, it looked incredible. The judges thought it was incredible. And earlier, like when they were showing him doing the prep, and he's like cutting the wheels, like I was like, what is he gonna do with that? I was kind of curious, and it was great to see that he used it as the vessel, and he put like the puree and sort of like I think he did the eggplant 3 different ways in there, and so it was just beautifully executed. I will also say this too is like I was really worried, and maybe it's just sort of me who gets tired of this narrative, is that I feel like as soon as he started talking about how he has a Chinese heritage but grew up in Turkish and Mediterranean restaurants, I was like, oh, like I just feel like the find your voice local, like to push you into like what your mom cooked was a little bit. I think like it's a little bit overplayed, and I don't want to see chefs being forced to like like, or necessarily nudged in a way that they don't want to go because, like because of where they're born. Like if you're a Chinese chef who's done nothing but cook Turkish food and that's all you want to do, like more power to you. I was kind of worried that we were getting to that the narrative of him finding his Cantonese voice, which I don't think, to me, he seems like someone who can cook all of that food that whenever he wants on a high level. But at the same time, if he wants to use those Mediterranean inspired dishes that are more to his back, to more his study and his practice, then that should be fine too. But I like that he sort of came out with a Chinese dish nice and early, so hopefully he won't get pigeonholed into they want me to cook only Cantonese food because that's my family's area of origin. Which like I just feel like it's a little tired on Top Chef. I want to find some new motivating factors. Like I do like that when you see Dwayne, you see in the preview say, "I'm not trying to find my voice. I know exactly what it is already." Like I think that is more the direction that I would like to see. Now it's if people find themselves on the show, that's also great. But I just I was like, oh no, I hope this isn't this narrative that's about to come again. Like we've seen it so many times, and so.
But it's definitely been like a new era Top Chef storyline.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan's look good too. It's almost like I feel bad. It's like almost forgettable next to Lawrence's because that was so hyped up. And he gave them rice and he said, "This is a gift. Enjoy it." They're so funny. Also I want to talk about how much I hated the set dressing of this dinner. I hated this table. I think it was so
Oh,
ugly.
I had almost the opposite reaction. I was going to comment about how I thought it was great. Like I loved it. Like it was weird this bottomlet table where there's just a row of the peppers down the center. I
I
thought it was
like
like
the peppers, but it was just
yeah.
like there was nothing else in this greenhouse. It almost made me think that they weren't planning on doing their meal in there, and it was just like too hot to be outside, but like a greenhouse wouldn't be any cool. It just feels cruel to have a pepper challenge and like make them get very hot from eating the peppers and then be like, we're also going to put you in a greenhouse in the middle of the day in North Carolina. Enjoy, have a nice time.
Yeah, I think that I know Tom said 80 degrees in the greenhouse, but at the same time, if it's 100 degrees outside, maybe there's some vents or some fans or something to keep the greenhouse a little bit cooler, which they can also do that as well. But I thought it was cool. Like and I thought the minimalist table setting was gorgeous with the peppers down the center of the table.
I like a lot of color. What can I say?
Yeah. It was a very simple place setting, for sure,
Yes.
especially as compared to the elaborate, beautiful nature of Jamie's restaurant in the last episode.
Yeah,
This
I
was
think
definitely much more minimalist.
that was much more my style.
Yeah.
Anthony for the green team had jerk lamb with hoe cake, red jalapeno, and scotch bonnet carrot mafe with Carolina Reaper pickles. And then Nana had the Shido marinated red snapper with fish light soup, fufu espuma, and okra salsa. And Kurt left us a note saying fufu espuma is going to be his drag name. I was so thrilled for Nana to be able to plate both of her dishes this episode. She was like, hell yeah, on the plate. This fish looked awful, I would say. Like it just grossed me out to take it out of the sous vide bag and just like throw it in the pan, and it looked like it bounced, and I was just like, I didn't like it. I like my fish to be crispy, or like it has to be crispy, or it has to be like very not crispy, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like I don't need the combo cooking.
No, that it makes sense. I mean, the combo cooking should theoretically work really well, but at the same time, like sous vide fish takes them a while to get used to if you're not used to eating it. Sort of the same way, because it's even softer than like an oil poached fish a lot of times. But you can manipulate the fish a lot. Like a lot of times you can get it into perfect rings and then slice it. And so there is a good use for it. Salmon is oftentimes used in the circulator, but I think that she would have been better, or if you get it mostly like 90% done in the circulator and then just like sear the heck out of it really hard to get crunch on it. That works really well. The other technique that we use in the restaurant almost all the time for fish is to just unilaterally cook the fish. And that's kind of my favorite way to cook fish, because you can get a crazy good sear, you can get really crispy skin, but you can also ensure that the other side of the fish gets, like it's almost like that sous vide texture, and you just pop it in the oven just for a second until the top side gets done. But I just felt bad for her. And she said something. She's like, I haven't used the circulator in a long time. Well, look, if you're not using the circulator in a long time, just don't do it. Or if you want to use the cryovac machine to marinate your fish before you sear it, that is a perfectly good use of some of those same techniques. There's no need to even really put it in the water if you don't need to. But yeah, I just like a lot of that equipment, and even for like when I was on the show, I was pretty familiar with circulators and in fact, and cryovac machines, but you're dealing with a different machine. It may be not one that you're used to using. A lot of those cryovac machines, they act a little bit differently. And so you've got to know how the machine works, and then it takes familiarity with it. But she would have been better off just to sear the fish. I mean, that's the thing,
Yeah, I think last week scared her, and she just wanted to make sure she wasn't like down to the last minute. And it seems like fish almost seems kind of tough on Top Chef because it can go over so easily, and like you don't want to cook it ahead of time, and if you're not great with time management, et cetera, et cetera. I'm glad she's, spoiler alert, here for another week to hopefully kind of shake off some of those demons and really just like cook for herself, because she did really well in the Quickfire challenge when it wasn't it wasn't in these like constraints, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a great bounce back episode. And like, if she was thinking that she needed more modern technique in this dish, I mean, she has the espuma on that, the fufu espuma. That's something I've never heard anybody do. That's sort of taking that classical African fufu. And then I kind of suspected that you kept seeing the gun in there as well, the ISI gun in the circulator as well. So I kind of thought that was hers. It could have been somebody else's, but she has lots of modern technique on that dish. She did a good job finishing her plates, and like maybe she was just kind of nervous and wanted to make sure that the fish was done. And because I mean, one thing about the circulator is like once you're not going to overcook the fish in the circulator if it stays in there a little long, because you're just maintaining that 125 or 135 or whatever they have it set at. So it is a safe way to make sure that you're not overcooking something while it's still being hot, and you can take it out of the bag and put it right on the plate. But still, I don't know, the fish needs to be seared. Or like maybe you're doing the fish in the bag and you're like frying the skin to make it crispy, and you're putting it back on top of it. Like that's the thing that a lot of people do. But I don't know. This is the round two of the two chefs that I really would have wanted to eat both of these dishes too. Like they both sounded really great. And I'm not sure how Anthony got the hoe cake on the bottom of the lamb, because it looked like they were cutting through the lamb, and it was almost like a crust on the bottom of the lamb. I'm really not sure what technique he used to get that done on there, but hoe cake is really deep, classic, like Southern, really with slave origins, where that comes from. It comes from cooking cornmeal and like cornmeal mush on the back of hoes in the field. And so like that has a really sort of a long history of making like that little corn pancake. But just, and I don't even know, like maybe he cryovac'd the corn batter onto the bottom of the lamb. I'm not sure how he did it, but it looked gorgeous when they cut through it, and the cornmeal was just on the bottom of the lamb. Like I was like, I don't know how he did it, but I'm going to look into it because it looked like a great idea.
Anthony, if you're listening for some reason, let us know. Our sixth round, we had Oscar with the blue corn masa huarache with el pastor, salsa diabla, salsa criolla, and pickled pineapple. And Justin, we had shrimp stuffed chicken wings with greens dressed in habanero chili oil and yogurt ranch. I find Justin to be such an interesting character on this show. I just and I just don't think it's his personality, but I almost want him to fight for something. I want him to like have a fire lit under his ass and really just like give a fuck, I guess. And it's not that he doesn't. He's just like so laid back, and they were at the grocery store and he was kind of the last in line, and he's just like, well, I need this and this, but he wasn't like fighting with anyone for it. And even just like this recipe, he was like, well, I couldn't fry it. I realized I couldn't fry it, so I just grilled it. Oh, like I'm just like, Justin, like let's do something here. I love the idea here. I just think it didn't quite work in practice.
Yeah, you're right. And instead of just like rolling with the punches, you don't want to roll with the punches right off the show, right? And so like he should have, like the twins had whichever one of the twins had the right strategy of everyone pooling the ingredients, like what common ingredients did they have, and then buying them in a group instead of sort of it seemed like the other team, it seemed like the red team was just more like everyone has their $75, and then like whoever's at the end of the line is like, well, maybe I only have 40 now. So like he really should have stepped up. Like, you even heard Mei Lin talk about how she was expecting the whole wing with the wing tip on there, and it would have been more of an entree sized portion. This late in the meal, you would expect it to be a little bit more of an entree size, not necessarily size portion, but something a little bit bigger.
This could have worked earlier in the progression. And I do love the idea of like a spicy chicken wing, like in a spicy meal, but
stuffed with shrimp. That sounded great to me. Like
I love that. But as soon as he said grilled, I was done. I was like, no, I don't love like an oven wing. Like it just doesn't, like it gets like that flabby texture that Mei Lin was talking about. And I just, again, big texture girly. Ugh, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. They don't, unless your oven is so hot that it's basically, like really like, but the charcoal grills work really well. But at the same time, you're right. Like it has to be seared hard and it needs to be hot, and you have to maintain the charcoal in those grills. And if it's just sort of like one side is good and charred and the other side has sort of like flabby chicken skin on it, it's just not appealing. I will say that the dish looked great, and like he did a good job of like, I think maybe hiding it in the presentation so it wasn't as noticeable. But yeah, I'm with you. Like I think that he should have like, well, like at the end of the line, when he realized that his team was going over on the prices, he should have stepped up earlier, because once it's wrong, it can't be unwrong. And so he should have stepped up earlier for sure. No doubt about it.
Yeah, like, do you think he was missing any ingredients, or he just like wanted more wings so he didn't have to like break them up like he did?
I think he mostly wanted more wings, is what it seemed like to me. And that would have made more sense if it was a little bit bigger portion, or if it was the whole wing with the wing tip. It would have made more sense.
I love the sound of Oscar's dish. I love an al pastor. I love pineapple on any and everything, and a pickled pineapple sounds incredible. I would very much like to try a pickled pineapple.
Yeah, Oscar is definitely great comic relief for the show. He is he's a pleasure to watch. Like I think he's been great on the show so far. He's doing well. He's landing mostly in the middle, which is a decent place to start with at the beginning of the show. And I think that, yeah, like the guy who's cooking this kind of food is someone who you probably want to have deal with some of the heat. He's cooking a style of food, whether it's sort of Mexican type cuisine where heat and chilies are a big important part of it. It makes sense to have him be there, stepping up the heat like later in the meal too.
And then for our last dish of the night, it was placed on the table, and Gail, you could see in her eyes just being like, okay, I can do this. I believe in myself. Rhoda for the green team made a pepper braised short rib with chili pickled pearl onions and blistered cayenne, and Jossie made braised lamb vindaloo with flaky paratha, potato mash, yogurt, and lime shop. I thought Jossie had the right idea here, which was to kind of make like a stew where he could increase the spice level as the meal went on. I almost wonder if Brandon's wasn't as spicy as they kind of thought it was going to be, and then everybody had to adjust. And like I wonder if like they didn't have to adjust, like if his would have been fine. I guess not, because like the lamb was dry. This is me being naive about cooking. I was shocked that you could have something be dry after like braising it, because aren't you like cooking it in a liquid basically?
You are, but I mean, have you ever had like a beef stew where the beef is just like super chewy and tough?
I guess so. I guess that's fair.
And it's just not the right cut of meat. Like Tom is always right on the show, but he was definitely right on this one. Is that they got a leg of lamb because it was cheaper. Now the leg of lamb needs to be roasted, and it needs to be served with a little bit of rareness to it. It doesn't need to be well done. It needs to be that's more of a medium cut cook on that. Like you want, that's where you want it to be. And so like trying to stew that meat is just not going to work out. Part of it has to do like the stew meat's like, Rhoda does a short rib, which is, has so much marbling and fat. What you're doing when you're slow cooking, you're letting all that fat melt away. And what makes it tender is that all that leftover space in the whatever you're braising is where that fat used to be. Now the fat is in the sauce, and the meat is tender because that fat used to be there, and is now that's what causes it to be tender.
Got it. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, and so that's why short rib is great. Like if he'd have picked, just a couple of shanks, he might have been better off. Even if he like took the meat off the shanks and then added them, added it back in and broke it up and to make it the right size portion, he probably would have been much better off as well too. But I've got a really cool fact. This is a cool fact that I learned actually from Chidi Kumar, who was on the last episode, and something that I did not realize at all is that spicy foods in India were not introduced until the Portuguese got there, which was in the 16th century. The indigenous heat from Indian food before the invaders came was from black pepper and maybe white pepper, and it's more peppercorn than actual like spice hot chilies or hot peppers. It was really the Portuguese who brought that to India, and that's really when Indian food started to become hot. So it really wasn't surprising to me when Jossie was talking about how he didn't really, he wasn't really into spicy food, but I just didn't, I had no idea that it was, colonizers who brought heat to Indian food. And so I thought that was like, it wasn't that surprising to me that he wasn't necessarily into spicy foods.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I don't think I realized that either. You learned something new. Rhoda's dish looked incredible. I love the sound of this. I love Rhoda. She's just such a fun character. She's like a perfect Top Chef contestant because she's funny and her confessionals are great and she knows her food, and then she's also just like absolutely killing it in these challenges. Like she won again. Like congrats,
Yeah.
Rhoda. That's not like an easy feat.
No, this cast is really talented, and the fact that she's won back-to-back episodes is incredibly impressive. And the more immunities you pile up, the more that you can just sort of like, cook without, you can throw abandon to the wind, and you can just sort of like cook crazy and do what you want to do, and not be worried about. You can cook without being worried, which is an important part of the show. And when you're cooking free, your food oftentimes ends up better. And she's just sort of basking in that free cooking immunity space where she can take the hard ingredients, she can take the hottest one, and just absolutely nail it. This dish looked so beautiful, and it was prepared in such a confident way. I think that she is out of the gate doing an amazing job.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see where she goes from here. She's the winner. The green team was the winner of the challenge. The red team lost. It was really the last 3 dishes that kind of did them in. And that was our bottom 3 with Nana, Justin, and Jossie. With Jossie, I think fairly being eliminated here.
Yeah, I think so. And he did kind of fall into the trap as sort of like I think that when a producer asked him, did the judges make the right decision? He actually answered that question, which I think that I think most contestants don't answer that question, or they just say, yes, I screwed up. It should have been a better dish. But I think that Tom yet again describes it correctly. Like, were there some variance and mistake for the fish? Yes. Was all of the meat overcooked for them all because he cooked the protein incorrectly, and that's a hard thing to overcome.
Yeah, and I always say like Top Chef is like, it's what have you done for me lately? Like, we're not judging it on what happened last week. It doesn't matter that Nana was in the bottom last week. It matters like what was on the plate today. And it doesn't seem like this season they're really taking into consideration the quickfire which is fine by me. I would prefer it that way, but I think, am I making that up? They made a big deal about that the last like 2 seasons where it was like, we're considering the quickfire when it comes to your elimination.
Yeah, that was definitely a thing. That was
Okay.
definitely a thing in the last 2 seasons. And it may come down to like, if it's like they can't really decide who's going to go home, it's a tie. They might look at what happens earlier in the episode to make a decision. But you're right. There was definitely, it was noticeable. Like they made a point of they pointed it out. We will now be considering, what happens to the quickfire as part of who gets eliminated. But they have not brought up anything that happened earlier in the episode.
Mm-mm. And I'm fine with that. I really think it should be like, what did you put on the plate for me today? But yeah, that's episode 2. I thought it was a great episode. I think it gave us what we were asking for last week with like more character development. I want to see everybody. I thought this challenge was exactly what I need from a Top Chef challenge at this point. I love a progressive meal on these shows, but
An early progress. A lot of times we don't get it until a little bit later, but this is a very 2 teams of 7 early on. Or is it 6? It's 7, right?
Yep, 7.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. No, I really enjoyed this episode. Next week we're seeing Emerald Lagasse.
I'm always excited to see Emerald.
Me too. And I can't remember what they said the elimination challenge was going to vibe like, but yeah, I guess we'll find out next week.
I wish they were less spoilery though, because like if you've been watching the what's on this season, any of the ads on TV, like who's going to get hurt. There's going to be a question about if they go home or not.
Yeah, it was almost just like zoot about 30 seconds ahead if you want to remain incredibly unspoiled. We all knew Justin wasn't going home this episode no matter what. We knew he wasn't going home last episode no matter what. But we'll see. Now it's not looking as like cut and dry as these last couple episodes. But yeah.
Oh, it's not Justin though. It's what's his partner's name?
Yeah, it's Jennifer. But
Yeah.
he played such a big role in it that like I knew he
Oh, yeah.
wasn't going home.
Yeah, because they've been advertising the conversations that they have, and
Yeah.
they've been showing her with a sling on her arm. Like
Yeah.
I don't, like, and hopefully it's all for nothing. Like I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know, like they would have to be medically evacuating me to not be on the show anymore. Like
There's
I would have to.
there's very few medevacs on Top Chef, which is shocking.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of the time, if you hurt yourself in the kitchen, it's really just so we're like, well, a couple of stitches take care of it.
I guess.
Okay, that's fine. You can get back in. It's not like you have a concussion and sunburn and are dehydrated and like a snake bite or something. So, but yeah, I mean, hopefully it's much ado about nothing. But if she has a broken arm, then that is hard to deal with. Like how do you can you cook with one hand? I guess we'll find out. But I wish they wouldn't give so much away. I feel like they give too much away in the previews and
Yeah, that's why
the
Kurt never
commercials.
watches any of the previews. He just is like, da, 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 I'm just going into the season. I don't have that ability. I don't have that kind of restraint. Jim, what did you cook this week? That feels like a loaded question every week. What didn't I cook?
No, well, I'm excited. We'll add a new dish to the menu this week when it gets to be this time of year. And being in such a place that is so super Catholic as Mobile is, we're so like smack dab in the middle of Lent. But now is the time when we start adding sort of dishes for and approaching for Easter. So we'll have our braised lamb shank will go on the menu probably starting tomorrow or the next day, which am incredibly excited about. We'll serve it with we get this really awesome Tunisian couscous, which is a little bit bigger than your sort of Moroccan couscous, but is smaller than Israeli couscous, so it's kind of in the middle. And we'll do a bunch of like charred and roasted vegetables like cucumbers, and we'll definitely do like a fennel crema. And then I think we may add some more like an Indian style mint chutney to the dish. Lamb and mint is classic. It's a classic pairing, but really it's because the lamb in England was so bad that they needed something to make it taste good. But it is just sort of the giant mutton had such a gamey taste back in the day. They needed that mint to counterbalance the bad nature of the lamb, but it's a taste that people have grown to enjoy and like. So really we'll do a very classic preparation of lamb shank, couscous, some cool sauces, and I'm excited about it. It's whenever guests are always, even a dish as simple and as classical as that, the guests are always excited when they see that the giant lamb bone come out on the plate, and it's cool and definitely fits right into the season that we're in here in South Alabama, original capital of the French colonies, kind of deep, much like New Orleans, with very long Catholic, French, Italian tradition around here. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
That sounds.
How about you?
What did I do? Nothing too crazy. One of my friends hosts a Pie and Prejudice party every March 14th, where you go to her house and you watch many different versions of Pride and Prejudice, and you bring a pie. I love.
Do you have an opinion? I have a real opinion on the Pride and Prejudice versions.
Okay. Well, what's funny is like I had kind of like through this party tangentially seen them, but never really taken them in. And then in the fall, my husband read Pride and Prejudice, like in preparation for this party. So I was like, well, I have to read it in preparation. So I read it last week. And so this year I was finally like so excited to like watch it. I thought the BBC one, obviously it's cool because you get like so much into it. I thought Mrs. Bennet was really incredible in it. I thought Lydia was so perfectly fucking annoying in it. I love Colin Firth, so him as Darcy was incredible. I think I'm gonna sound insane. I'm a little bit of a Mr. Collins defender. And I think they went too hard in the BBC one of him being a real like dweeb. I don't think it's that bad. But in the Keira Knightley one, I thought she was really dynamic as Elizabeth. I thought she was incredible. The sisters were all brilliant. I thought Donald Sutherland was great. I don't remember who played the mom, but I thought the mom was like exceptionally boring, especially compared to BBC One, because she was so good in BBC. Um, and you obviously, because it's just like a movie, you just don't get as much of like the fleshed out story. What's your opinion on it?
No. I'm with you. To me, the BBC one is heads and tails above anything else. I mean, you're right. Colin Firth is great. I don't remember the two women who play Jane and Elizabeth are both amazing.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the blonde-headed woman is in the BBC, the original BBC version of the shoot. What was the political show that was on Netflix with Kevin Spacey?
A House of Cards.
Yes, the original House of Cards. She is also in that, and
Okay.
she is great in that. The BBC one, I saw it was streaming on some service the other day, and I was like, "Oh, should I start watching this again?" Because I haven't watched it in forever. But for me, like the acting is great. It's true to the story. You're not trying to cram the whole book into a 2-hour movie, and it's just heads and tails, in my opinion, better than the more modern versions. But I think that's in part just because it's a movie versus a mini series.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what they do with the Netflix one, having like that much time and space, I guess. Anyway, I made a creamy lemon pie for pie party. The recipe I saw called for obviously like a graham cracker crust, but it wanted almonds in it. And I just and because I don't know all of these people super well, I don't know their allergies like I know my close friends' allergies. And I feel like just putting nuts and everything is like a tough one for me because so many people are allergic. So I didn't do almonds. I just did some pretzels instead to kind of like add that salty bit. So I thought that worked really well. And it was a good thing I did that because there indeed was somebody who was allergic to nuts at the party. So I'm very glad I did that because it just like also wasn't obvious that there was like you know what I mean? Like it just wasn't obvious. And I made a Swiss meringue for it. And that was the first time I've ever made a Swiss meringue. And I loved it. And I think like I'm going to be making that in the future. I love how like marshmallowy it is. And I made some candied lemons for on top of that. Some other good pies. My friend made a peach and strawberry pie and it was excellent. She makes cannoli pie every year, which I love, and it's so insane and rich and decadent. And then she made a French silk pie too, which I loved, and I think I want to try to make one of those soon.
Oh, that's good. That's a good selection of pies there.
Yeah, and there was savory ones too. There was like some quiches, like a steak and ale pie. We ordered a pizza at one point. Like there was
pizza counts as pie, right?
lots of pie. It was great. It's like Christmas to me. This party, it's so fun. And that was nothing else too crazy other than that.
I'm a big pie fan. We serve butternut squash pie at the restaurant, and it's a sweet pie. It's not that different than a sweet potato or a pumpkin pie, but the juice in the butternut squash adds some cool kind of flavors to it. But we also pair that with syllabub. Are you familiar with what that is? Syllabub. Syllabub is this dessert that was started with the Romans made syllabub, but then also weird people like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin used to drink syllabub. So it's this cool kind of historical dish. Basically what it is, it's a whipped cream which you mount fortified wine into.
Oh, so, hell yeah.
Yeah, you can get like this. If you use like red port, you get a really awesome pink color. But we've been using like a white port to keep it kind of like whipped cream looking. But it's basically, it preserves your whipped cream and is a really cool kind of like, you should definitely try it.
Yeah.
It's a very easy component. People are super impressed by it. But you know, it's a cool kind of accompaniment. And then we serve like some black pepper peanuts, like a sweet black pepper peanut is the garnish for that dish.
That sounds incredible.
Pies are good. Try some syllabub.
I will.
We're always looking for those cool historical kind of connected recipes, and all of the historical recipe YouTube guys. I really enjoy all of their stuff. There's several of them, but syllabub, that's a very easy one that's been around since Roman times.
Okay, I am putting that on my list. I love making pie too. Like I find it so satisfying, just like the different components and everything like that. Yeah, it was just, it was a good time. But yeah, well, that's it for this week. Jim, where can people find you if you want to be found?
Yeah, me and the restaurant. The restaurant's where you'll find me physically almost every day. But if you're trying to find me on the internet, it's at Chef Jim Smith on both Facebook and on Instagram. And then at the Hummingbird Way is the restaurant. Yeah, give us a follow. Come and dine at the restaurant if you find yourself in Mobile, Alabama. We love to serve fans of RHAP, and yeah, everyone is welcome. If you mention RHAP or the podcast, there's a good chance that you might get something from me. Usually, when people walk into the restaurant, they want to take my picture. They want to take a picture together, and they say that they're Top Chef fans. That also almost automatically triggers some cool extra stuff from the kitchen from me. So
I love that.
Come by.
If you liked our interlude about Pride and Prejudice, well, golly, you're in luck. I have a Bookstagram where I read and review all of books, all the books I read. It's been a bit of a slower reading year for me this year, but I've been really diversifying my portfolio, so it's been fun. And you can find that at the Strong Library on Instagram. Yeah, and that's it. Until next time, pack your knives and go. Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.